Victor Blom is not used to playing against opponents as loud as three-time bracelet winner Mike the Mouth Matusow. At table 6, Johnny World Hennigan looks to advance against executive producer of The Simpsons, Sam Simon. Barry Greenstein hopes his 8th straight first-round victory turns into a second-round win over angry John Bennett. And at the feature table, 2 players who need little introduction, Antonio Esfandiari and Jonathan Duhamel. Antonio, you faced Jonathan in this format before. Are you the kind of guy that remembers matches, or is this slate all clean?
Revenge.
Revenge.
That's all I can say.
You made a lot of money over the last year. When it comes to this, does the money mean anything to you, or are you only thinking about the title?
I have no idea what first place is. I just want to punish Jonathan and get to the next round.
So I guess it would be the answer both. How about that?
All the above.
All right, Jonathan, he's had a lot of success over the last 12 months. How do you stop a player that is running so well?
I think you've had a lot. I mean, he won 18 million last summer, so that's enough. You got to share a little bit with the other ones. So he won't revenge. It's not going to happen, though.
What did you learn about him in 2011 that can help you in this match?
I knew he was a very good player, obviously. So I got to bring my A game, get a little bit lucky, and it's probably going to happen.
All right, well, good luck, everybody. Let's get the cards in the air.
And with that, we say hello. Matt Vasgersian along with Ali Najad with you for the start of the round of 32. 2 likable, personable poker players at the featured table. This game revolves around money, but you get the feeling, Ali, there's a little bit more on the line here tonight.
Yeah, the rematch. First impressions die really hard in poker. Both of these players are going to expect one another to take similar approaches to the ones they took in their last meeting. But needless to say, each will also be doing their best not to fall into any old and predictable patterns. Creativity's key here.
Jack deuce for Antonio. And he'll put in a raise to 1,400.
It's creative enough. Jack deuce, not your favorite cut of the deck. But the button is your favorite position, of course.
Jonathan calls with ace-4 and the flop. Jack, king, 8, a pair of jacks for Antonio. Quick check by Jonathan.
No reason for Antonio to check in position with middle pair. Tough to hit a pair.
He bets 1,700 and Jonathan folds his hand.
Board texture not so hot for ace high. Engage fan club.
I guess. To Phil Ivey on your left and Justin Bonomo playing on the right. And Phil with king 6 suited. To put in a raise.
15.
King 7 for Justin, who will call.
Believe it or not, Ivey has cashed only once in this event.
Flop is 10, tray 5.
He's one step away here, and winning the first pot isn't going to hurt the effort.
$25,000 and an invite get you into this tournament. And here in the second round, you start with $50,000 in chips. Blinds at 3 and 600, giving players room to maneuver early. No Limit Texas Hold'em is what they're playing. 3 different chip denominations on the table. The biggest is the green and yellow, worth $1,000. Half of the clubs and spades brackets are newcomers. Of those returning, none more decorated than Antonio Esfandiari and Phil Ivey.
Yeah, but those 2 are going to have more and more company in the coming years from the likes of our first-timers, who may not have as many stripes just yet, but let's not forget that both Antonio and Phil were once newcomers to the game as well. It's hard to think back that far, Matt. But you can remember Phil Ivey, circa Chris Moneymaker era in those basketball jerseys.
Pocket deuces for Ivey. Puts in a raise. 9-7 for Justin.
Re-raise to 5,000.
He'll re-raise.
Look at that. You see Ivey giving him a hard look. Bonomo looking to take control.
Phil makes the call and the flop. 8-6-8. Open-ended straight draw for Justin now.
Things could certainly be worse. He's not going to give up on the pot. Certainly not with that straight draw.
He bets 4,000.
That's 40% of the pot.
Ivey makes the call.
As he should with that paired board.
And the turn brings a pair of 9s for Bonomo.
Also puts a 3rd spade out there, which doesn't look like it's going to be concerning Justin whatsoever. Now he's actually improved to 9s and 8s. He's got the best hand. You can't slow down now.
Bets 11-5.
Board texture just got a lot uglier for pocket deuces.
And Phil lays him down, so Justin Bonomo takes down a big early pot.
He is a heads-up specialist. Not too many people 3-bet Ivy out of position with 9-7 off.
Nothing.
As of now, nothing.
They gotta make a move.
I know. I'm talking right now with the playground. Something might happen.
I like playground.
Yeah, it's a nice place.
Really
Jonathan
nice. I like
Antonio
those guys.
talking about one of Jonathan's local haunts in Canada, the playground. Suited Jack 7, Jonathan is raised. Queen Jack for Antonio.
Damn, is he allowed to raise me every time? Is that allowed? How do you feel about that? Would you take that personally if it was you? No?
Does he seem relaxed or what?
You talking about the dealer?
Oh, he knew it was about to happen anyways.
Antonio makes the call. Flop is King, King, 8. Club draw for Jonathan.
Not a bad-looking board for him, as you see Antonio check. 2,800 in the middle.
1,500.
Jonathan betting roughly half of that. Pretty standard figure.
Antonio makes the call.
That's interesting. Now, stronger players are not afraid to float a flop out of position to test an opponent's willingness to fire a second bullet.
Both players have paired their jack on the turn, check, check.
Antonio's queen kicker gives him the better hand. That jack was actually a bad card for Duhamel. But checking in position on the turn, pretty disciplined.
River a deuce of hearts. Antonio bets 3,300, gets a quick call, and it's Antonio who takes down the pot.
Yeah, you see those smirks on Duhamel's face there. Not much he could have done once Antonio decided to float the flop. I was wondering when they were going to chime in.
Peanut Gallery just got word that Antonio took down the hand. Perfect turn and river for Esfandiari. Life is good for the magician. More from Caesars Palace, Las Vegas, next.
Christopher Mormon, Daniel Cates, Kyle Julius, Scott Seaver,
Vanessa Russo.
Sean Deeb, Phil Ivey, Justin Bonomo, Victor Blum,
Mike the Mouth Matiso,
John Hennigan, Sam Simon, Barry Greenstein, John Monette,
Antonio Esfandiari.
Jonathan Duhamel.
True second chances don't come around very often in poker, but tonight, 3-time bracelet winner Antonio Esfandiari has a shot at redemption against 2010 main event champ Jonathan Duhamel. In 2011, Duhamel eliminated Esfandiari in the second round on his way to a semifinal finish. These two guys, Ali, as you know, are friendly off the felt, but here in Heads Up, this is all business.
Absolutely. Antonio has certainly gone back and watched the game film from that last match. He's an incredibly competitive poker player, and both of these guys played in the $1 million big one for one drop. They played high stakes games. They played tournaments. They played heads up. There's really nothing that they lack in their arsenals. Antonio a bit more gregarious, seems a bit more relaxed. Duhamel a little bit more intense. This is truly a clash of the Titans, but I think with momentum and the confidence in his corner, Antonio is through this year.
Line still at 3 and 600. A chip advantage of roughly 15,000 for Antonio. Duhamel with bullets.
He'll try to keep his heart in his chest here.
1,400.
Puts in a raise to 1,400.
No different than any other two cards he'd be playing.
Jack 8 for Antonio.
Duhamel's begging for a 3-bet here.
Instead, he gets a call.
Duhamel double checking. They're still there, buddy. Don't worry.
King 4 Queen on the flop, couple of hearts.
Pure air for Antonio. That doesn't look like it's going to stop him.
1,600.
He bets out 1,600.
Just a little attempt to steal the pot here.
Raise.
Gumel will raise to 5,300.
5,300.
He's hoping Antonio has a king or a queen here and is willing to continue. But this is also a product of the board texture, right? You got hearts out there. The king and the queen produce straight draws as well.
And Antonio folds his hand.
Stone cold bluff me, huh?
Not quite.
That's what it felt like.
So Antonio and Jonathan back to just about even in this match. Back over to Phil Ivey and Justin Bonomo. It would be hard to imagine a year or maybe a 2-week period, Ali, as good as the 2 weeks that Phil Ivey had during the 2012 World Series of Poker when he made 5 final tables in 12 days.
Pretty incredible. Now, note that in order to accomplish that feat, you've actually got to buy into subsequent events while seated at the final table to previous events. Meaning, I don't mind missing the first few hours of play, if not more.
Real poker multitasking, if you will.
Helmuthian approach.
Oh, you mean showing up late?
You got it.
Flop is ace, tray, 6, couple of clubs.
Ivey was in rough shape heading to the flop here. But that board texture is such that he can escape, and wow, that's a quick muck.
Bonomo drags that pot, though that's probably something he expects to do a lot of against Phil Ivey.
To be perfectly honest, I think I'm a slight favorite against Phil Ivey in this format. Ivey is one of the best players in the world, but this is heads up, no limit, so I kind of have home court advantage here. I like my chances.
All right, so Justin thinks he has an edge here. Home team does have chip advantage, by the way, but is that really the case? Does he have an edge?
You know, if the edge is determined by who has more experience in heads-up sit-and-goes, Justin has certainly played a dizzying amount of that format. But as we both know, there's way more to the match than just who's got more experience.
Both players with suited hands here going into the flop, and a pair of 8s for Justin, a club draw, however, for Phil.
Something to work with in both seats.
Phil quickly checks. Justin bets 2,200.
No reason to check that board with middle pair.
And Ivey calls. The turn to deuce of spades.
That's not going to slow Justin down as you see Ivey check a second time. 7,600 in the pot, and Justin bets 6,000. That's a very big bet designed to get a draw like Ivey's off his hand.
To an all-in elsewhere. Chris Moorman on the left, about to learn he's been eliminated at the hands of Daniel Jungleman Cates.
And Chris has
And Cates is the first to advance to the round of 16.
To the money round is our first player.
He's thrilled.
The money round. Moving on.
Casino Royale rides again.
Casino Royale needs to flip the collar around a little bit. Dressed for success, Cates now in the money. Welcome back to Caesars Palace, Las Vegas for round 2 of the National Heads Up Poker Championship. Antonio Esfandiari at our featured table tonight, and by virtue of his 2012 with good reason.
2012 was an incredible year for me. Obviously, the one drop was the moment that really took it up a notch.
5, Jack 5. Is this Antonio's night or what? Trip 5s.
Being there at the final table and actually winning it was pretty much one of the greatest experiences of my life.
It's a heart. Antonio has done it.
It was just a really nice touch on my poker career.
The barefoot magician walks away with 18 million plus.
I've known Antonio a long time. Generally Joe Cool, but that night he was particularly emotional.
How do you win the main event?
Huh?
How do you win the main event?
You're lucky.
You just did it, huh?
Yeah.
How many players when you won?
7,300 and change.
You don't know the exact number?
19.
I knew you would know. What is it?
17.
Busted.
Jonathan has raised to 1,700 with his king 9 of clubs.
Almost felt like an honest question from Antonio there. Looking for tips.
And Antonio with Jack 7 has made the call. And the flop, deuce, jack, 6, a pair of jacks for Antonio. He bets 2,100.
That's a really dry board, which Antonio likely can check and get a bet out of Jonathan on. But instead, Duhamel gets to fold. But notice how Antonio leads out with top pair this time after getting raised off of air when he pulled this move last time.
Well, as poker's popularity has grown, so too have the prize pools. Esfandiari and Duhamel have been huge beneficiaries of this. Antonio's big win score was good for $18.3 million. Duhamel's 2010 main event win added $8.9 to his bankroll. A lifetime of earnings from one tournament.
You think those guys pay for checking, Matt? They got to get free checking.
Antonio doesn't exactly have a lot wrapped up in footwear.
Hey, those are designer sandals.
Antonio with roughly a 10,000 chip advantage here. Slight lead for him. Queen tray here on this hand. He measures off a raise to 1,800. Jack 7 for Jonathan, who flips a call into the air.
3,600 in the middle, heading to the flop.
Which comes out king 5-6.
Not exactly what these players had in mind with those holdings.
A check from Jonathan.
2,000.
Antonio bets 2,000.
Just looking to pick up the pot. Oh, and Duhamel's making a play here with the check raise. It's a good board to try to pull this off unless Antonio's got a king. Even if you get called, you could fire another barrel on the turn here and likely pick it up.
Jonathan takes down the pot. They're back to being just about even. Back to Phil Ivey and Justin Bonomo. It's Bonomo who has a nearly 2-to-1 chip advantage in this match. And pocket sixes here. They'll raise to 1,600.
Oh, and this doesn't bode well for Bonomo.
Phil Ivey with 8s. He is re-raised.
5,600. I'm all in.
Uh-oh.
And Bonomo has put Ivey all in. Quick call from Phil. Here we go.
Justin is in horrendous shape here.
Not many people out there rooting for me.
I only got one clap, so I don't have too many more than you.
But who's counting?
And Phil flops a set. 8, king 9.
He can breathe a little easier. He can even ice the pot here on the turn unless Justin gets help.
And he has iced the pot on the turn. Jack of clubs. The river is moot. Phil Ivey doubles up and takes the lead.
You know, the trouble with Bonomo's play there is that Ivey's probably not folding any pairs better than sixes. And if he isn't paired and crushing you, he'll have at least 2 overs like an ace-king and be a very small dog.
So the tables turned almost exactly. Ivey with a better than 2-to-1 chip advantage now over Justin Bonomo.
We'll see if he can recover from that hasty kill shot attempt.
Ace 9 for Ivey here. He's raised to 2,000.
Bonomo's still got plenty of room to play. He's got 40 big blinds.
Yeah, with Queen 10 he is called. Flop brings 4-5 deuce and an inside straight draw for Phil. Bonomo quickly checks. Ivey bets 2,500.
Justin makes the call. He's got an idea here.
Turns an 8 of diamonds. A quick check from Justin.
That was an opportunity for Justin to maybe lead out and try to win the pot. Instead, both players check, and now Ivey's got a wheel. $9,000 in there. He looks like he's going to try to bluff this thing.
He bets 7,000.
That's a good-sized bet, but Justin's trying to represent a straight, which, of course, is what Phil has. Going to make it tough to win.
Call. Phil calls, and he gets paid. Ivey straight takes down the pot.
That was just a bit of bad timing by Justin Bonomo there.
Phil Ivey extending his lead, looking for a round of 16 berth for the first time in 5 years. The 2013 National Heads Up Poker Championship is brought to you by WSOP.com. Back at Caesars Palace, Las Vegas for the round of 32 in the clubs and spades brackets. Daniel Cates has already advanced. 7 tables still in action, including Antonio Esfandiari and Jonathan Duhamel. Antonio with 9 deuce.
Why not?
Puts in a race to 1,800. Ace 4 for Jonathan.
If Antonio's willing to pop 9 deuce on the button, I can't think of 2 cards he wouldn't pop.
Jonathan makes the call and the flop. 5-6 king, a couple of hearts.
Neither player connecting with the board.
Duhamel checks.
Not the first time these two have been in this situation.
Antonio bets 2,000.
Duhamel got another check raise play in his arsenal.
And he makes the call.
This time he's just going to look Antonio up.
Turn pairs kings on the board.
If ace-high was good on the flop, it's good here.
Duhamel checks.
Gut check time for Antonio.
And he bets 4,400.
That's harder than it looks right there. Oh, and if you think betting 9 high is hard, look at this. Duhamel is calling with ace 4. Staying with his read.
River card is 7 of diamonds.
Well, there's 16,400 in the middle. Duhamel is begging for Antonio to check behind, and he does. Had Antonio fired another barrel there, he may have won that pot.
It's Jonathan Duhamel who takes down the pot with ace high.
6-12.
Back to Phil Ivey and Justin Bonomo. Better than 2-to-1 chip advantage for Phil. Ace jack suited here for Justin. He'll put in a raise. Ace queen for Phil.
Uh-oh.
And Phil raises to 5,600.
If he's willing to sail with 2 6s.
All in.
Yeah,
And Justin's moving all in.
Sure felt that way.
Quick call from Ivey.
And that long face on Justin Bonomo is for good reason. 2 6s into 2 8s. Ace jack into ace queen. What's a guy got to do?
The flop. 6-7 tray, no spades, and Justin needs a jack.
You hear that? That's the bell tolling in the background.
Turns in 8 of clubs.
And that makes matters worse for Justin. Jack of clubs no longer good. He's got 2 outs, wants to stay alive.
Now the river.
Can he do it?
He cannot. Ace of diamonds on the river. Phil Ivey's going to the round of 16. Justin Bonomo's going home.
Bonomo took a big pot approach to the match. Just didn't work out.
And as Phil moves on, we check in now with one of his poker mentors, Barry Greenstein, who looks primed to join Ivey in the round of 16. Barry needs his aces to hold up against John Monette's 4s.
Monette's ace has only got 1 leg.
Flop is 8 queen 7.
Not looking good for pocket 4s.
Turns in 8 of spades.
Bonomo couldn't hit his 2-outer. Can Monette?
No, he cannot hit it either. It's Barry Greenstein who moves into the money.
Well, here comes the old post-match debrief. Hey, what'd you have when I had to, and then you...
Julie is with Phil Ivey and Justin Bonomo.
Back in 2006, you were quoted as saying one of the last people that you would want to face in a heads-up match would be Phil Ivey, that you didn't think you'd be able to have the edge over him. Do you think you were able to have that today at all?
To be honest, yeah, I thought I had a little bit of an edge going in. I mean, Phil's one of the best players in the world, but I'm kind of a heads-up specialist, so it's kind of like I had home court advantage.
In reference to Justin, what did you think and know about him coming in?
I don't really know too much. I know he's been very successful. I'm playing poker. I know he's good in these type of formats, these situations, so, I was a little weary going into the match. And, there was a couple hands that came down that were, at 2 8s, he had 2 6s. I had ace, queen, ace, jack. There's not really too much you can do.
All right, well, we look forward to seeing you in the round of 16. And
okay.
Justin, thank you very much.
Well, a second-best hand won't be good enough for Sean Deeb to advance out of the second round. Former heads-up runner-up Vanessa Russo with an 8-high straight, sending Deeb home in his heads-up debut.
And Vanessa Russo moving on to the money.
Nice, man.
Oh, you want to hug it out? Let's hug it out. The decks this round are apparently always frozen, never fresh.
Well, the poker Twitterverse gave us some insight, some background on this match, if you will. Deeb always a good follow. Seems he came into his second-round matchup against Vanessa a little short on sleep. The poker life in 140 characters or less.
Well, Deep can add being the inspiration for the longest hashtag in history to his list of accomplishments. My gosh, Vanessa.
No rest for Vanessa. She's on to the round of 16. Sean Deeb on his way to the closest bed. Welcome back to Las Vegas in the National Heads Up Poker Championship. 4 players have already moved on to the round of 16. 4 tables still in action. Cates, Russo, Ivy, and Greenstein have all advanced. Let's check in now on one of those matches still in progress. Victor Blom and Mike the Mouth Matusow. A brutal turn card made a straight for Blom, but also made a flush for Matusow. The Mouth is in the money.
Blom was drawing dead when the money got in on the turn. Bit of a shoulder shrugger there. Mike can now exhale. He's in the money and out of Blom's crosshairs.
And meanwhile, a new feature table. Kyle Julius on the left, Scott Seaver on the right. And Scott has almost 84,000 of the 100,000 in chips in play here. Suited King 4.
You cleared all in?
I haven't looked. All right.
All in and call.
And Seaver puts Julius all in.
4 diamonds for Scott Seaver.
Kyle's taking away the best of it, going to the flop.
It's going to be like
all spades.
It's going to be like a 7 with diamonds, though.
Nah, I want 5, 5, 8, all spades. I can chop with a running flush. I can thrill to chop.
Here's flop.
Any special requests, Scott?
Here's the flop. Trey, 8, 1 diamond.
2 spades. I really needed that diamond to be a spade.
Still plays. Now the turn.
I just don't want to run off diamonds.
Oh, turns a 7 of diamond.
Diamonds.
You were right about the 7 of diamonds, though. Yeah, I definitely hit this one.
Right now.
I wouldn't doubt it.
Yeah. Just been running so pure.
Now the ring.
Somebody's got to run pure.
Diamond!
Diamonds and Scott Seaver.
Oh, man. Scott Seaver moves on to the round of 16.
You called that, huh? Yeah, I mean, sometimes you just run so pure that it just doesn't stop.
Must be nice.
Back to Antonio Esfandiari and Jonathan Duhamel. These two about even at this point in the match. Jonathan squeezes Jack 5 and puts in a raise to 3,200.
Min raise with the blinds at 8 and 16.
Queen 10 for Antonio.
Is that right?
And he calls.
We haven't seen any 3-bets pre-flop in this match so far.
Flop is 6, ace, 9.
Swing and a miss for both guys.
Antonio checks.
Not going to try to lead out and pick up the pot with the ace on board.
Jonathan will, in fact, bet 3,200.
3,200.
Antonio folds.
He's so nitty against you. It's unreal. I don't know what happened today. I didn't make my protein drink in the morning or something. So nitty. Ugh. It hurts.
Well, while Antonio struggles, Mike the Mouth is already thinking championship. 2 matches down, 4 to go.
That tweet doesn't come with a money-back guarantee. One of the most dangerous things Mike can be doing right now is thinking too far in advance. And one player he's not going to want to face is right there, Mr. Run Good, Scott Seaver.
The Caesars Palace Poker Room hosting the 2013 National Heads Up Poker Championship. Inside, the talented Sam Simon all in, and behind cash game player John Hennigan. A double up here would still leave Simon in rough shape. Flop is ace, 10, 6, a pair of 6s for Hennigan.
John Hennigan. And the turn.
He had the best hand pre-flop, best hand on the flop.
Is a jack.
Turns a jack of diamonds.
Simon trading in a queen for a king as an out.
Sam Simon, here's the river. King ball. It's another
Rivers a
6
6 of
John
spades,
Hennigan
and that
money.
means John Hennigan's moving on into the money and into the round of 16.
And he's getting there fairly quietly. Haven't seen him on a feature table yet. His next matchup just might earn him a spot there, though. 2 Titans, him and Ivy.
Sam now joining Jennifer Tilley and Phil Locke on the rail. Lines up to 12 and 2,400 now between Antonio Esfandiari and Jonathan Duhamel.
Last match in the room, only 1 level away from our highest blind level of 1,500, 3,000.
Jack 5 for Jonathan. He's called.
Now, limping is going to give these stacks more play post-flop relative to the pot size.
Check.
And Antonio with king 9 checks. And the flop, deuce 8-5, middle pair for Jonathan.
Both of these players really staring each other down, trying to pick up something in the form of a reaction to the flop.
Antonio makes a bet, 4,100.
Oh.
Jonathan calls.
Pot up to 13,000 now.
And Antonio pairs his 9.
Not a bad card to hit when you were bluffing. He's now got top pair.
He bets 8,400.
8,400.
About 2/3 of the pot.
Jonathan folds, and Antonio adds to his chip lead.
Good disciplined fold from Jonathan there. Releasing what was middle pair. And sending the old peanut gallery into a frenzy.
They are working in unison. Jonathan saying, where's my fan support?
Back in Montreal.
Esfandiari suited with diamonds, jack deuce.
Pace has slowed down a little bit in this match as well.
Sure has. He's going to put in a raise here to 5,000. Connectors for Jonathan. He will make the call.
Each player starts with 50,000 in chips, 100,000 at the table total, 10% of that in the middle already.
And the flop, jack 7 ace, no diamonds, but a pair of jacks for Esfandiari.
Well, this is an interesting flop. Duhamel's got the gut shot straight draw and the club draw. He's going to slip it over to Antonio, who makes a check behind. I like that. He doesn't want to get moved off that jack by firing a bet and getting check raised.
6 of diamonds and a two-way straight draw now for Jonathan.
With Antonio having checked the flop and Jonathan with so many outs, he feels comfortable leading.
4,400 to Antonio. He makes the call.
Jonathan's got control of the betting, so even if he misses, he can try to bluff this thing on the end.
The river pairs aces on the board.
Now, Jonathan probably doesn't have Antonio on an ace. Remember, though Antonio raised pre-flop, he checked behind on the flop and then just called on the turn. It's going to feel a lot like some sort of club draw or perhaps a jack.
76.
Jonathan bets out 7,600.
Oh, wow, you might have it, huh?
Duhamel's got air.
You think he looks comfortable, Daniel?
And that bet size is going to look very value-ish to Antonio. This is not an easy call with the jack and no kicker.
Oh! Makes the call.
No, no.
And Antonio takes down a nice pot, leaving Jonathan with just over 21,000 of the 100,000 in play.
Duhamel could have been betting a wide range of hands there, an ace, a better jack, or even a flush on the flop.
Wow, you looked really comfortable.
Good call from Antonio. Felt like there were more hands he would lose to than beat.
Well, before this match started, Antonio tweeted that he wanted his revenge against Jonathan Duhamel. Like he has so often in the last 12 months, Antonio is getting his wish.
Jonathan and I had a great match a couple years ago.
King deuce suited for Antonio. Ace queen suited for Jonathan.
Oh, boy. You could see this getting ugly.
Come on. Call.
Antonio's gone from a flush draw to a pair draw.
Oh, man, so sick. I actually remember I made a king high flush and he made an ace high flush. That was one hand that hurt me, and I still remember.
And it's the 10 of diamonds, and Jonathan Duhamel moving on.
I'm looking forward to get some revenge today.
Antonio needs to stay patient here, even though Duhamel's got less than 10 big blinds.
5 minutes, then what, 15-3?
15-3, yeah.
Antonio asking for how long he's got between now and the next blind level, which will make Duhamel's stack even shorter.
Jack 6 for Jonathan.
He may not make it that far.
Oh, he's moved all in.
Yep.
Jonathan Duhamel is all in.
Should we sweat together? It's more fun that way. It's not good.
Giving Duhamel a sneak preview.
It's king 4 for Antonio.
Antonio wouldn't mind moving all in with
have?
that, but calling is tougher.
Yeah, I call.
He has called.
And Antonio makes the call. He is ahead.
You can see Duhamel's displeased with that decision.
King 4, a 3-2 pre-flop favorite here.
Just a king ball. Just a king ball on the flop.
Jonathan Duhamel's tournament life on the line with Jack 6.
You gotta learn how to fold, man.
What?
You gotta learn how to fold, man.
Yeah, how am I going to fold that?
And the flop.
Flop 8-8-9. Not a lot of help for Jonathan.
Not at all.
Coming on the river.
King is coming on the river. Come on, baby. King ball.
Jonathan looking for a jack or a 6.
Ooh, queen of spades.
6 on the river.
And now the 10 is in play.
He picked up 4 more outs.
6 on the river. And with 2 pair, Jonathan Duhamel is doubled up.
Order up.
Come on, come on.
Nice hit on the river to save his skin.
I run good.
How much is it?
Well, Jonathan Duhamel called it, and it came. A 6 on the river keeps him alive. And if Antonio's going to get his revenge, he'll have to wait a little bit longer.
Welcome back to the National Heads Up Poker Championship at Caesars Palace. There are a few undeniable truths in poker, but one right now is that Scott Seaver is running well. $2 million at the PCA High Roller. Now he is calling his shots at this event. He advances to the round of 16 over Kyle Julius. Others advancing, Daniel Cates, Vanessa Russo, Barry Greenstein, Mike Matusow, John Hennigan, and Phil Ivey. One table left, and it is the one in the middle. Antonio Esfandiari and Jonathan Duhamel.
And the round of 16 in the spades and clubs would have been complete had Duhamel not hit a 10-outer in their last hand. Antonio with roughly a 3-2 chip lead. Jonathan with king 10.
The good news is Antonio still does have a lead. The bad news is that lead isn't as significant with the blinds where they are.
Raised to 4,800.
Duhamel's put in a raise. Jack 8 for Antonio.
It's 24 to me.
And he calls.
Esfandiari makes the call.
The flop. 996.
996 is the board.
2 spades out there.
Check.
Antonio checks over to Duhamel. We'll see if he fires the continuation bet.
Instead, Jonathan checks.
I'm a little bit surprised there.
Turns a 7 of hearts. Both players pick up straight draws.
Well, conventional wisdom is to just bet in position on that flop. But by checking, now Antonio with the 2-way straight draw can lay claim to the pot. And Duhamel just mucks. I think Duhamel got a little bit gun-shy given the stacks.
So blinds up.
Antonio seizing the opportunity.
Blinds up here to 1,500 and 3,000.
This is the final level also.
What does that mean? What if there's no winner?
No, yeah.
It's a tie. Yeah, it's a tie after that.
It stays at this level.
Now a better than 2-1 chip advantage for Antonio.
To give you a sense of just how big these blinds are, if both players had 50,000 right now, they'd have about 17 big blinds.
Connectors for Esfandiari. He calls.
We might start to see a little bit more limping at this point in the match pre-flop if they're going to hope to have any play post-flop.
Duhamel checks with 7-4. Flop is 8-6-7. Both players get a piece. Pair of 7s for Jonathan. Top pair and a straight draw for Antonio.
Yeah, Duhamel's got the bad end of a straight draw to go with his middle pair.
He checks. Antonio bets 4,200.
He likes his hand.
All in.
Call.
Oh, and Duhamel's gone all in. Quick call by Antonio.
Here we go.
Ouch.
Ouch is right. And we are all the 5 is no good.
Oh, boy. I don't feel this one. I think you win, sir.
The French-Canadian translation
I
of
don't
ouch
feel it.
is 5 outs.
That's good for me if you don't feel it. Come on, it's only fair. You won last time. I win this time until
You
the
won
next
18
time.
million last summer. Come on.
You won the main event.
You're right. You're right.
Touche.
You speak French.
Yeah, that's cool.
There's the turn.
And
Jack of
here's
spades.
Jack.
No help for Jonathan.
Yeah, I don't feel it.
Same 5 outs.
Good game, sir.
Don't say that just yet, okay? You're gonna tilt me.
It ain't over till it's over.
The River's an ace of diamonds.
It's over.
There was a joke in there somewhere about a French surrender after he saw the turn card. But I waited until after the match was actually over.
Happy birthday, Dad. Thank you.
Another birthday present for Antonio's father as his boy advances to the round of 16. Antonio gets Daniel Cates next. No easy task there, as heads up is a Cates specialty. Old school ×4. Meanwhile, in the spades side of the bracket, let's check in with Julie.
Jonathan, it kind of seems when the blinds got big today that the cards didn't go your way. Would you have done anything differently?
Yeah, maybe the last time. I'm not sure. I mean, it was a tough decision for me. Kind of had no option. I mean, I was kind of card dead at the end. The blinds were high, but I mean, Antonio played perfect. He played super good, so it was a really tough match. I mean, I beat him last time. He beat me this time. So I guess we need a third match at some point.
Antonio, how does revenge feel?
It feels really good. I gotta say, he's a tough cookie to crack. I mean, I really feel like he ran over me in the beginning of the round, and then when the blinds got higher, I happened to catch a couple hands, and so, you know, at the end it was pretty much a crapshoot. And I actually think he had to do what he had to do because it's really hard to flop a pair. So, just worked out my way at the end. But
We're coming up next for you is Daniel Cates. Your thoughts on him?
yeah, he's some online super wizard, so I just have to be ready to gamble. You know, I have to show him that the old seasoned veteran pros can just ship it, just like the little young internet wizards.
All right, thank you, gentlemen. You're 1-1.
All right, thank you. You want to just flip a coin?
Not many people out there rooting for me.
Come on, come on.
I only got one clap. Would you take that personally?
Ouch.
It hurts.
You're lucky. You got to learn how to fold, man.
Come on, baby.
Coming up next, the round of 32 continues with the Hearts and Diamonds bracket. More from the National Heads Up Poker Championship presented by WSOP.com in a moment.
I really wanted to win the match against Jonathan today just because he beat me in this event a couple years ago, and that hurt a lot. Early on, he took a big lead, and at one point he had a 3-1 chip lead on me. And as the blinds got really high, I caught a couple of hands at key times.
The last time, I mean, I was really short stack at that point. The blinds were high. All my options were kind of bad. Folding was bad, calling was bad, and raising was bad too. So I just felt like I have no clue what to do.
It came 6, 7, 8, and I had 8, 9 in my hand. So in a heads-up situation, that's like the nuts.
And I just thought, when you're not sure, might be stupid, but you go all in. All in.
Call.
All in and a call.
Unfortunately for him, he did flop a pair. Didn't work out for him.
It's an ace. Antonio Esfandiari's in the money.
Yeah. I mean, for sure, he did get his revenge. Now we're 1-1 on the heads-up match we played.
Welcome back to the National Heads Up Poker Championship presented by WSOP.com. The poker calendar is littered with tournaments, but there is not an event quite like this one. 8 players have already advanced to the round of 16. Right now, this group will try to join them. Joseph Chung and WSOP.com qualifier Bruce Miller. At table 2, Joe Sirach and Huck Seed. Online star Phil Galfond and Eugene Kachaloff. At table 4, a matchup of and for the ages, Tom Dwan and 10-time bracelet winner Doyle Brunson. 2003 main event champ Chris Moneymaker hopes to advance against David Doc Sands. At table 6, Gail Bowman takes on one of the hottest players on the tournament trail, Dan Smith. Brian Hastings clashes